Yesterday there was a war fought on American soil that I'm sure many of you have seen by now. A one-man army barged into a local smoothie place, assaulted the young workers, got racist, got arrested, and subsequently fired from his very well-paying job. He was one of the top 25 highest-grossing wealth advisors in Connecticut, and he threw all of it away over what was ultimately his fault when it came to a smoothie dispute. This battle was up there with the Battle of Troy, but instead of being fought over a woman, it was fought over a smoothie. To briefly break down the situation before sharing the video, or at least some of the video, I can't share all of it because he gets racist and I'm not going to show that. So just to briefly sum up the lore here, there was a father who had ordered a smoothie from this smoothie place earlier in the day. He mentioned he didn't want any peanut butter in it, so when he got the smoothie, he brought it to his son who has a peanut allergy, and his son had an allergic reaction to the smoothie and ended up in the hospital. Sometime after this, the father then went like full-blown fucking vigilante mode, goddamn trying to emulate John Wick, went back to the smoothie place to demand to speak face-to-face with the person who made the smoothie, but the four girls that were working there at the time were not the four employees that made that smoothie, so they didn't know who it was. So then the father got very upset, yelling and screaming, treating it like a 2009 Call of Duty Xbox Live lobby, just absolutely shouting, being racist, and tried to kick down the employees only door, I imagine, to try and like beat them up or some shit. Then police got involved, he got arrested, lost his job. The whole thing honestly played out like a fucking Dhar Mann video over the last 12 hours. Father gets angry, gets racist, gets fired, lives to regret it. Now, I want to make it clear, I think the father is totally in the right to be mad about the situation, but nothing justifies racism and like trying to assault people that didn't even have anything to do with the situation in the first place or any of that shit. The most important part of this story is the father never specified he didn't want the peanut butter due to allergies. He never specified that it was due to, allergies to peanuts that he wanted the peanut butter excluded. So the workers may have made a mistake of blending it in a blender that had already had a peanut butter smoothie in it at some point. But nothing excuses how the father handled this situation at all. It's terrible what happened to his son, and what the father should have done is handle this legally, professionally. The dude's a fucking wealth advisor, at a very reputable place. He shouldn't be some kind of troglodyte homunculus who thinks the only solution here is to goofily march into the smoothie place, fee-fi-fo-fumming, ready to fight some high school girls. It's absolutely outrageous the way he handled it, and there's no excuse for it. Now, from what I understand, most restaurants do have a policy when someone asks for anything regarding nuts, like leave off, the peanut butter or whatever, the assumption is supposed to be made that it is due to allergies, which is why they have like a special blender at smoothie places from what I was reading. So yes, the smoothie place is at fault, which is why the father should have handled this legally, not as some kind of agent of chaos or whatever. Let me go ahead and show you the video now.
Please don't yell at us.
Yeah. Don't videotape me.
You have no room to yell at us.
I want to speak to the fucking person who made this drink. Is that you?
No, it wasn't
we don't know
me.
who made it, so.
You don't know who made it?
There's four of us here, so we honestly don't know.
Fucking stupid, fucking ignorant high school kids.
Okay, bye.
I want to speak to the fucking
Bye.
manager.
Okay, you can call corporate whenever you want. Goodbye.
John, stop. You're on camera.
Fuck
You're
out
on
of
camera.
here,
You're on
you
camera.
fucking bitch.
No, I don't care.
Give it to me right now.
What? Really? Oh, you're fucking.
I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police.
Fuck you, fucking
you.
bitch. I want the fucking telephone
Get the
number
fuck
right now.
out.
Gianna,
I want the
out.
telephone number. Shut the fuck
You
up.
shut up. Get out. You can
Fucking
call corporate
stupid
whenever you
fucking
want.
idiot.
Bye.
You're a fucking idiot.
Okay, good for you. Fuck out. You're going to jail. You're going to jail, you racist piece of shit.
I want the fucking telephone.
bro, call the police now.
Like I said, I'm not going to keep any of the racist shit he said in here because obviously I don't want to keep that in here. So this is the worst way of handling any situation ever. I talked about it on stream last night, so I'll play some of those clips. But there's nothing that excuses this behavior. I've seen quite a few people almost defend him, saying like how emotional he must have been with his son. And yeah, that's a horrible thing that happened to his kid off of a mistake from the facility here. But this is not the way you go about it. And nothing justifies racism and like attacking people, especially people that had nothing to do with what happened in the first place. And if he was really that emotional about his son, why wasn't he with his son at the hospital at this point? I'm assuming when this was happening, his son was still at the hospital. This probably wasn't like 18 hours later or, you know, the next day or anything. So he sent his son to the hospital and then immediately came over here like it was some kind of revenge movie or something. It's disgusting. I don't think they like maliciously put peanut butter in his smoothie after he asked not to. It was probably just using a cross-contaminated blender that had peanut butter in it. Just sue. Exactly. He could have handled this legally or anything other than whatever the fuck he thought he was doing here, like Liam Neeson. Fair, but if I was a dad, I'd get just as angry, just without the racism. He absolutely had a right to be angry. I don't think anyone disputes that. But he doesn't have a right to be racist or go to the place and threaten high school girls and throw a smoothie at them, call them all kinds of horrible names, and then try and literally break down the door to, I assume, beat them up. Most places, when they hear no peanuts / nuts of any kind, they're supposed to assume allergies due to how common it is. That would make sense. He was the wealth management advisor, and managing director for Merrill Lynch. Yeah, that's what it was. He only worked with clients with $1 million or more. I remember that. I guess you can't control emotions when your son is in the hospital. What? What? I mean, no matter how mad you get, there's never an excuse for racism. Like, what do you mean? It's not like, my son, time to go be racist. Dude looks way older than 48. He doesn't look that much older than 48. Like, it's not like a good 48 he's rocking, but it's also not, like, terrible. You clearly haven't met a 48-year-old in Florida. Yeah, so as I mentioned, this father only worked with clients who had $1 million or more worth of, like, assets in their account or some shit like that. So this guy he was big money. He wasn't making peanuts. This guy was making, like, fucking fat, big old stacks, and he lost that job, like, hours after this video surfaced. Overall, this whole situation was awful. Feel really bad for the kid. Both parties were at fault, but the father was significantly more in the wrong for how he handled this. There is just no excuse for this behavior whatsoever. So, yeah, that's about it. So, yeah. Yeah, my hair's wet because I just got out of the shower. I've been smoking on that West Virginia sticky couch co-op, and it's got me feeling like making fun of some more Pokemon scalpers. This has become a pretty embarrassing epidemic, with grown men fighting each other over Pokemon cards. A month ago, I was covering the Pokemon brawls that were breaking out across the country when Costco made the fatal decision to start stocking Pokemon products. God rest all the souls we lost on that day. Many a brave warrior were sent straight to Valhalla fighting to get their grubby paws on Pokemon boxes. That was always going to end one way: death. Costco and Pokemon together, that's just gonna be catastrophic 100% of the time. That's like a nitroglycerin plant announcing they're gonna start selling fireworks. Anyway, it's not like the scalpers have been hibernating or anything. They've just been fighting in different locations without as much footage surfacing until today. I saw a goofy little fight break out at a Pokemon vending machine. Now, I've never seen one of these in the wild, but these are Pokemon vending machines where you can buy product out of it. And typically they're empty because scalpers come through like the Grinch and buy up the entire inventory and sell it online for a markup. That's how they live their life. Actually taking candy from babies for a $10 profit. It's fucking sickening. So in this video, these are apparently two known scalpers in the Bay Area that start duking it out at 10 a.m. off of a fresh restock. Now, speaking of fresh, if you want to start smelling better, if you don't want to be as stinky as these losers in the videos we're about to watch, then you need to start using Cheeky Soap. We actually just came out with 2 new scents: Absolute Cinnamon and Spope. Spope is spa soap, so we just combined the 2 words together. So this is like a eucalyptus scent. This one's obviously cinnamon. They're available now. Go to usecheeky.com right now. Now, I can't play the audio because it's just DMCA music. So the person who uploaded this is the guy currently at the vending machine and is now getting boxed out by the Eagles hoodie gentleman. So Humpty Dumpty here with that NBA caliber box out, he's throwing that ass back on the guy who uploaded this. And I love this pose right here. This is that Spider-Man 2 stopping the train moment. Man is fucking, it looks like he's protecting the president, like he's about to like take bullets for the guy here, the way that he stretches out like that. I'll play the rest in a moment, but they're bumping and grinding at the Pokemon vending machine. And the guy decided not to keep the original audio in and elected to put a song there instead. I think that's a really weird decision, and I think the reason he would do that is because the Eagles hoodie guy was probably confronting him about scalping. That's, like, based on what I've been reading as well, that seems likely because that guy is apparently a known scalper who actually camps restocks of these fucking Pokemon vending machines, and it stands to reason that if Eagles hoodie guy was calling him out on that, boo, boo, this guy stinks, he's buying every Pokemon box, this sucks. Well, he obviously wouldn't want to leave that in for the video because then nobody would be on his side. And if, like, you can see him at the Pokemon vending machine, he looks like he's about to place an order when the video starts, and then Kevin James from Hitch comes in here getting him with that fucking wobble swag, throwing that ass in a circle on him, getting him out of the way. So, if he just came in there out of nowhere to, like, kick him off the machine so he could hog it all to himself, I imagine he would have left the audio in because it was so unreasonable and so unexpected. That's just my working game theory. I saw a couple Facebook group posts as well as a couple Reddit posts saying they recognize this guy from their local Pokemon vending machines around the Bay Area and basically doing the same thing where he'd be there right when it restocked and grab a ton of product from it. Now, I also saw that the guy who boxed him out has a lot of people who apparently recognize him as well. He's not some virtuous hero, Ass Ketchum is not using those cheeks for good. Apparently, he too cruises these Pokemon vending machines, buying up a ton of product from it. So, it does seem like the original caption of two known scalpers, fighting at 10 a.m. is accurate, based on everything I've read from the Bay Area Pokemon community, as well as some of the other people that have talked about this. Anyway, though, back to the action, you can see he is still in a wide power stance saying, "You shall not pass." And he's instigating this scuffle, by the way, yet he's leaving himself totally undefended. He could have caught the meanest knuckle sandwich of 2025. That move would have been super effective. It would have had him blasting off like Team Rocket. Anyway, though, the action's winding down in the fourth quarter and they go their separate ways. That was pretty awesome. That right there is what Pokemon's all about. At least in the modern day and age. There are so many fights for Pokemon cards. It is unbelievable. But yeah, like I said, these Pokemon vending machines are apparently a hotspot for scalpers. So, one thing that's been kind of popular is people will go there and just start filming and shaming some of the scalpers, and I really appreciate that. I think they're doing a very strong public service by filming these shameless fucking degenerate losers who go there buying tons and tons of product and then going online to sell it for a markup to kids or parents looking to buy something for their kids. Now, I also have said this before, and a lot of people disagree with me, but fuck you, I'm right. I think Pokemon has become less for kids and more for people like this. Adults that view it as a money-making conduit. So they'll see things like the Pokemon Oreo collab, right? And they'll go and buy tons of Pokemon Oreos hoping to get like the Mew one and sell it on eBay for $100. So I feel like most Pokemon products never even really get into the hands of kids predominantly. It is mainly in the hands of adults, like greedy assholes, that are buying it to try and make money off of it. That's kind of what the entire hobby of Pokemon seems to be becoming. Of course, I'm sure there's data to prove me wrong, but I'm going to plug my ears to that. Fuck you. The data can suck my dick. I think my feeling is more accurate here for this. Because every time there's a Pokemon set, a Pokemon collab, a Pokemon fucking fart somewhere out there, you will have hundreds, thousands of grown-ass dudes going out there to try and make money off scalping it. So it sucks. It super sucks. Anyway, let me show you some scalpers real quick so we can make fun of more of them.
Don't be this fucking guy right here, look. Don't be these two assholes. Taking all this shit right there. We're all waiting in the fucking line to make fucking $20.
Now, I think it's worth mentioning that Pokemon themselves are aware of the scalping problem, so recently they implemented some new policies to these machines, one of them being anti-loitering and a couple other things meant to combat this. It's not working. Hey, sorry to hit you with the cold water, it is not working. I also heard there were like purchase limits in place, but that doesn't work either because you can just make like maximum purchase limit and then just stay at the machine and then do maximum purchase limit again. So the protocol aren't stopping the scalping problem. I don't know exactly what they can do for these vending machines to stop it. I mean, maybe you hire the Pinkertons and each vending machine comes with its own armed security guard to ensure no scalpers get to ransack it. I really don't know. But at least they're aware of the issue. Maybe they can do something about it down the line that I'm not smart enough to think of, but I truly don't know. Scalpers are a huge issue across the board. They are a scourge on the entire planet, not just to Pokemon. But in Pokemon, I'd say scalpers are some of the worst and most pathetic I've seen.
Here we go again. Cleaning out the machine once again. Every single time I see this guy at the machine is getting cleared out. He doesn't care if it's singles, bundles, ETBs, he's just clearing everything out.
They know how scummy it is too. You can see in all of these like confronting scalper videos, they like get really shy and try and like hide away. Like this guy's just blatantly trying to hide his face. The other two guys, they looked like they were on the verge of tears. Like they know that it's shitty, but they don't care. That little $20 they can make online, that makes it all worth it. They're hustling right now. They're on the grind. I've probably been yapping about this for too long now anyway, so I'll just stop it there. But yeah, Pokemon scalping still super sucks. Really shameful shit. That's really about it. So yeah. There's nothing more patriotic than taking an expensive ambulance ride to the hospital in the case of an emergency. It's become a very popular joke that if whatever puts you in the ambulance in the first place doesn't kill you, the financial debt that you'll accrue from your hospital stay plus ambulance ride will. That'll throw you 6 feet under, that'll bury you. You're actually looking at a back-to-back ambulance rider champion here. I'm a bit of an aficionado. Back in high school when my lung kept collapsing, I took a spin in an ambulance twice because of it. And my parents obviously care a lot about me, but I could tell both times that ambulance pulled up, their souls left their body. Because getting visited by an ambulance is like getting visited by a money dementor. It just sucks your shit up. The first ambulance ride was one that I couldn't really avoid, but the second one, they actually transported me in an ambulance from one hospital wing to the other, which to this day I still believe is a scam, and my dad will still shake his fist about because I could have just walked from one wing to the other. Like I could have just been transported in like maybe a wheelchair or something, but instead they put me in an ambulance to take me like half a mile. And I'd already been at the hospital for a pretty extended period of time, so it's not like I was, needing an ambulance to get me from point A to point B. I was stable. I could just, with my own power, go from one wing to the other. But they insisted on the ambulance. And in the ambulance, I wasn't even hooked up to any gear or anything. I was just kind of sitting there hanging out for the 3-minute ride. And that was, I believe, $800 to go that far. And the first ambulance ride was like $1,500 or something like that. The average ambulance ride cost in the US is like $400 to $1,200. It has a huge range depending on the state, but it doesn't seem like there's anything like super consistent with it. All that is consistent is how fucking expensive that is. But anyway, I'm getting really sidetracked. What I want to talk about is there was a bike rider in Oregon who actually just got hit by an ambulance, and then that ambulance, after blasting him on the road like it was twisted metal, picked up the bike rider, threw him in the back of the ambulance, transported him to the hospital, and billed him $1,800 for it. Can you even imagine? You're riding your bike, you get hit by an ambulance, and then they charge you $1,800 for the inconvenience of hitting you and bringing you to the hospital for the problem they caused. Galaxy brain, nefarious scheme. That is a scam that Ed, Edd n Eddy would have run. Unironically, I know I use that comparison a lot, but this is actual Ed, Edd n Eddy tier. It's so good. Like, oh, we need jawbreakers. Ed, what do you think we should do? Well, let's go hit Rolf with a hammer and then charge him 25 cents for the Band-Aid. Like, that is basically what this is. I don't think they hit the bike rider on purpose, but even still, they struck the cyclist and then charged them $1,800 for the transportation fee in the ambulance. His name is William Hosch, he's 71, and he was hit by the ambulance in question after its driver made a right turn, fracturing his nose and leaving him with scrapes as well as other injuries across his body. And now he's suing the Columbia River Fire and Rescue Department for nearly $1 million after they sent him an $1,800 bill for the ambulance ride. He claims he was left with permanent injuries and accrued $47,000 in medical expenses so far, with an additional $50,000 anticipated after his visit to the hospital. As they say, the dildo of justice rarely comes lubed, and I'm hoping William gets in there raw. I'm hoping he wins that lawsuit, because that is just some barnacles right there. That's some straight up fucking fish paste. The ambulance hits him and then charges him money for the ride. And it seems like it's not, like, it doesn't seem like they're on the hook for any damages, so he's not owed any money, even though they caused the problem. They are at fault, at least from everything I've seen here. And now he has to go through a tedious, expensive lawsuit in order to get any amount of compensation for an issue they caused. It's so crazy. The lawsuit claims that in 2022, Hosh was traveling in the same direction as an ambulance on his bicycle, and the vehicle tried to make a right turn to another street, and it crashed into him, destroying his bike. The ambulance driver estimated they were going between 2 and 10 miles per hour. Hosh estimated to police that he was going between 5 and 10. Crash left him covered in blood and resulted in prolonged injuries and pain, stiffness, tenderness, discomfort, impaired range of motion, and reduced grip. Now, it's important to remember that this man is 71 years old. So in 2022, we can do the math, he would have been 69 years old. That's not exactly a spring chicken. At that age, getting struck by a large vehicle is absolutely going to do some substantial lasting damage, I would imagine, even if it's not going 30 miles per hour, right? Unless William's got bones made out of adamantium, that's going to lead to some boo-boos. I don't think he's just making up these claims. I don't think he's doing some traditional ambulance chasing, as it's called, where someone fakes an injury after an accident in order to get a payday from it. That's not what this case strikes me as. It seems like he actually does have like a fractured nose and medical expenses that he'd like to be compensated for, considering the problem was caused by the ambulance. It doesn't sound like William was at fault. It doesn't sound like he was driving recklessly or not paying attention. I haven't seen any reports of William, popping a wheelie while giving the middle finger to the ambulance while he's going down the sidewalk and then losing control and crashing into them. So I feel like he's probably in the right here to be upset that he got charged for the ambulance ride and then also had some big medical expenses slapped on top of that. So I do think he's got some big ground to stand on here for this lawsuit. Also, there's this picture from the scene, and it had me giggling because the authorities are looking around like they're trying to locate body parts from William, like they just blew him to pieces and they're trying to locate the remnants. Like, come on, you couldn't at the very least just waive the ambulance fee considering the situation here? Was that really off the table? Now, there is a picture of William Hosh after the accident in a hospital bed, and his face is all bloodied, so he definitely did get injured. Again, this isn't him just like making things up, at least I don't see it that way, and not based on the evidence presented. He mentions that he believed the ambulance was going to keep going straight. It was like going down a hill. He thought it was still going straight, so I'm guessing there wasn't a turn signal, or at the very least William didn't see one. Then the ambulance suddenly turned right, and William was left with no time to react to it to avoid it. But the ambulance driver said he believed he had his turn signal on. Now, whether or not the turn signal was actually on, who really knows? But all I know is this headline was something special. An ambulance hitting a man and then charging him $1,800 to bring him to the hospital. That is unhinged. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit, and that's it. So yeah. I don't like attempted murder. I said it. Go ahead, dry your tears. I'm not taking it back. I'm not going to censor myself. I don't care whose feathers get ruffled by that take. I don't like attempted murderers. And by extension, I don't like successful murderers either. But today I saw a video of some pranksters, I think. I don't even know. Just some downright losers who treated attempted murder as content. One guy, Mr. Olympiad, a giant chair, like a really heavy chair, and then threw it off the 3rd floor of a mall where it plummeted 3 stories down, nearly hitting bystanders at the bottom. Which, if it did hit them, absolutely would have killed them.
Go, yalla. There's no way this guy's doing. Allah.
What the fuck is this?
That sound that the cameraman makes is the exact sound Bart makes when Homer strangles him. That is just one of the worst sounds I've ever heard a human being make. It sounds like he's being waterboarded in honey, like really thick, and he's just gargling it up. The caption saying, "No way bro almost killed someone, nah," with the crying laughing emojis is just diabolical. It's just evil. I'm sure their reaction would have been exactly the same if that did go down there and just fucking blow somebody up. If someone did die from that, I'm sure the caption would have just been tweaked a little bit like, "Bro just killed somebody, what a menace," laughing crying emoji. It's to this point where people like this that grow up with social media convincing them that everyone around them's an NPC to exploit and use for content, it just makes them believe that everyone around them's just not even real. Like, they're not even human beings. So if someone died there, shit, that's just more content for them. It's really scary.
Cody. Oh, no, Cody. What the hell is this? Come on. No way I did that.
That's where it stops. He is in disbelief he did that, nearly killing people for this stunt. It's not a stunt. He just grabbed a heavy object and threw it over the railing at the mall. What the fuck? This happened at Westfield Stratford, and from what I've read, police are investigating it. But I'm at the point where I just have no faith in authorities to ever actually punish people that do this shit harshly. Like, pranksters get to run rampant, like, just being a complete nuisance, hurting people, harassing people, in this case, nearly fucking killing people. And it's just to the point that I really think we need to be a lot harder on it, because that 100% should be attempted murder. Look at how close it was to hitting the people down below there. That's like dropping a fucking anvil out of a cartoon on somebody, but it's real life. That is just going to flatten them. If they survive, it would be a miracle, and they would 100% be suffering from permanent debilitating injuries, most likely some kind of paralysis. But the most likely outcome is they would have died if that hit them, and it was very close to hitting them. It immediately reminded me of those people that were throwing rocks over the interstate and ended up killing people from it. So I looked into it because I never remembered the aftermath. Well, in both cases where someone was murdered by the rock throwing over the interstate, they got off pretty easy. Like, there was a little bit of jail time, but everyone involved in those rock throwing interstate murders, they're all free now. I think that sucks. Like, I understand they were kids doing that, but kids know how dangerous that is. Part of the game was causing damage to the vehicles. They just didn't expect someone to die from it. Like, they know how dangerous that is. So the excuse of, oh, they're kids, they don't know any better, just doesn't fly. Because they obviously know. That was like the whole point of the game, is causing damage and pain. Like, why is that not more harshly punished? And they attempted to try them as adults, but it got overturned. I'm not here to get into the nitty-gritty of those cases, but the point is, why are we not harder on shit like this? In this video, we just saw them nearly kill people, and they recognize that, and to them, it's just a big joke. People's lives don't mean anything to them. It's just a laughing matter to them. Like, it's not Looney Tunes. It's not like a piano falling on somebody's head in Looney Tunes where you see stars and you have piano key teeth. They almost just killed people. Like, I really hope that this investigation that they're conducting to find them results in a very serious sentencing. Big update as I was making this video. 15 minutes ago, this was published, stating that 2 teenagers have been arrested after a viral video showed a chair being launched from a 3rd-floor balcony at Stratford Westfield, narrowly missing shoppers on Saturday. Police said a 14-year-old and 16-year-old boy were arrested on suspicion of criminal damage after a heavy seat was thrown from the shopping center's 3rd floor. That's good they've been arrested, and now it's time to actually make an example out of this. You might remember a year or so ago, actually I don't remember how long it's been now, there was a prankster who was terrorizing the UK, breaking into houses, attacking people, jumping on people, threatening people, stealing people's dogs, and that prankster got arrested like 5 times, and every single time they just let him go. No slap on the wrist, no real consequences at all, and that prankster was well aware of it, even just openly mocking authorities for how light they were on everything he was doing. Eventually, they actually did give him, I think it was an 18-week prison sentence, and when he finished that, guess what? He stopped doing it. I just checked on him a moment ago, just going through his Instagram, and it seems like he has actually turned his life around, and he is trying to be better. He's just now celebrating his ability to drive a car, saying no more breaking into people's houses. So it looks like, and who would imagine, if you actually punish people for really shitty behavior like this, it helps not only everyone around them, but the person themselves. So in this case, I know they're kids, but they knew that this could kill people, and they didn't care. This should be treated with the severity that it warrants. It was risking innocent people's lives. So there is no benefit to just taking it easy on them because, oh, they didn't know any better. They did. They absolutely did. They even say that they did, recognizing that people could have died. So I think it stands to reason that this should be something they take very, very seriously. Not just a slap on a wrist. Not just a $200 fine because you hurt that chair and, well, there was a little damage to the floor. And don't do it again while shaking your finger at them. None of that shit. I really think this should be a time to make an example. Like, no more of this, we're going to crack down on it. Because, as has been shown, if you let them just keep getting away with doing shit like this that jeopardizes the safety of others, they're going to keep doing it because it's big on social media. By just letting pranksters fucking steamroll you and letting them just go hog wild, it's bad for everybody. I really think that Mizzy, that's the prankster I referenced earlier, is a great example for how, when you do actually finally give repercussions for this kind of shit, it's a beautiful deterrent that stops others from trying to emulate it, and it also helps that person to recognize how unacceptable it is, and they become better for it. So I know I've been yapping about this for a while, but it's just so fucking frustrating to see the dangerous kind of shit that continues to just escalate, it seems. So, they arrested them. Good. Now, don't just let it be a nothing burger. This needs to be a time to set an example that this kind of shit is not okay. Yes, it was extremely lucky and fortunate no one died in this, but who's to say that it won't lead to a death the next time they do some unhinged shit like this? So, yeah, that's really about it. See ya. Get your protractor out, nerd, because I'm ranting Wumbo style right now. I am so tired of the Epstein files being treated like it's Half-Life 3, where there's all these like leaks being teased all the time and then nothing. Nothing ever happens. Just release the files. It's been years, and it feels like every 6 months there's like this big push, like, they're finally coming. It's on the way. Batten down the hatches because you're not ready for this bombshell, and then poof. What? Nothing. Nothing new. The reason I'm ranting about this is because yesterday I kept reading and kept being told, like, tomorrow's the big day. The Epstein files are finally fully declassified and all of it's coming out tomorrow. The dam has broken, we're gonna know everyone's names, and we're not ready for it because there's names on there you'd never expect, like, fucking Commander Shepard's on there, you know? The Citadel has been compromised. Like, it's like, okay, finally, it's about time, you know? All this red tape, we finally got around it. Good, let's release it. Well, now it's tomorrow, and all I have seen, some people have this binder that they're all holding that says Epstein Files Phase 1, and they're doing this. They're taking prom photos with it. They're just cheesing on top of the binder and still not releasing it. If what you have there are the Epstein files, why don't you make like a fart trapped in my butt and release it? Instead, they're just taking, like, these photo ops, like they're just looking for Instagram updates. Like, what the fuck? It's starting to just feel completely performative. It's feeling like it's just banished to the shadow realm forever. Because I have seen this as a talking point for a while now when people are looking for, like approval on things or trying to get into a position of power. I've seen this as a big talking point, like, hey, if you choose me, when I get in there, come hell or high water, I don't care whose feelings get hurt, I'm releasing the Epstein files. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna take a power stance, lat spread, and teabag this shit, going right into the department, marching in there, slapping the files out of their hand, and I'm putting it in the American public's hands. Take my word for it. Well, now there's a lot of people that can do that, and it's still not happening. The names are still not being released. The most we ever get is these little tiddlywinks of Epstein file morsels that have been known for years, and they parade it around like it's new info. It's so stupid, and I'm beyond tired of it, because there is no doubt so much redacted information that is still not publicly known that I'm fully confident they have access to, especially judging by these pictures they're all posing with, like, here's the Epstein files, I've got them right here. Well, how about you open it and let us take a peek inside if we're that close to releasing it? Like, today was supposed to be the day. At least that's everything I kept reading and getting told. So when is it? When will we finally know all of these names and all of this information? Because it has been so long of the same song and dance. Now, as I've been making this video, a new article just dropped that states that after review of the release documents from today, most of the information has been heavily redacted and previously reported. Also, it's called into question if the information was ever even classified in the first place, and it's drawing, of course, heavy criticism because apparently it boils down to being some of Epstein's phone book. And now I just read another article that said it's being pushed to tomorrow because the FBI director is withholding thousands of pages. It's such a mess. Like, I am fully expecting tomorrow to roll around and still nothing to be there. Hopefully I'm wrong about that. We'll see. But based on what I'm reading from the people that did have access to this huge new information, it boils down to mostly redacted shit, as well as things we already knew, and then some of Epstein's phone book. So when are we actually getting the meat and potatoes, the fucking spaghetti and meatballs of all of these Epstein names and all of this absolutely evil shit that they apparently have had access to for so long but still haven't released? It just feels like I'm perpetually reading BuzzFeed slop headlines in regards to this. The first arrest will shock you. The Epstein files are coming. Okay, that's exciting. When? I'm ready to be shocked. When's that first arrest happening? Why hasn't it happened yet? Like, who is it? Who are you trying to catch? Is it fucking Adam Warlock? Like, why can't we get a handle on them? When is that first arrest happening? Like, if these headlines just keep popping up over and over and over again in regards to the Epstein files, and then there's still nothing that ever gets released. It's at the point now where I really feel like there might not ever be an arrest that comes from it, and there may never come a point where the Epstein files ever get fully released. I also read a couple days ago that allegedly the FBI was working to delete some of the files, so it's just such a fucking disaster. It's so infuriating. And I keep hearing time and time again, like, it's coming, it's almost here. It's set your alarm clock. But it's become like the Bloodborne 2 of documents. It just doesn't exist, it feels like. I guess when Jeffrey Epstein mysteriously found a way to kill himself in prison, like, you know, Tony Stark of suicide, he killed himself with nothing but a box of scraps and toilet paper. Somehow, all of the evidence and everything he had vanished with him. And now it only lives on in headlines occasionally about, like, well, it's coming, maybe. No, it's actually coming this time, and then it never does. But again, hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe tomorrow is the big day with a lot of new information, a lot of new names, and maybe, God willing, some fucking consequences for the people on the Epstein list. Here's hoping. Fingers crossed. But anyway, just wanted to rant about this briefly. That's about it. So, yep. 2 days ago it was tomorrow. Yesterday it was today. Now look at us. In the present. Today. And still no Epstein files. They treat these like Bubble Bass treats pickles on a Krabby Patty. Still no pickles, but it turns out he's just hiding them. They have the files, it seems, and instead of releasing it to the American public, they'd rather just give these binders that say Epstein Files Phase 1 to some influencers, so that way they can pose with it like a prized fish, where they're smiling and laughing about it like they're about to go to homecoming, instead of just releasing that information. It's so fucking weird. They're treating these extremely serious files with child sex traffickers in them as if they had just got like a baseball from their favorite MLB player who threw it into the crowd for them. It's just not being taken seriously. Not only by the people that have the binder, it seems, but by the actual GOP. I was going to mention this yesterday, but I decided to, sit on my swamp ass and just stew. We'll wait to see what they say about it tomorrow. Because I thought there was a chance maybe the House Judiciary Twitter account got hacked with this post. Like, surely they'd release a statement today, but no. They're just going to plug their ears and pretend it didn't happen. But I'm sure a lot of you saw yesterday the actual official House Judiciary Twitter account rickrolled the Epstein files. I shit you not. They posted this tweet, and when you click that link, it takes you to a rickroll. The tweet eventually got deleted, but it was up for hours. It wasn't like a brief thing that some random person scooted into the office and did as a joke. This was something that they posted and kept up for a while. This shit is so outrageous, it has my voice cracking. My vocal folds are left in disbelief like they just watched a David Blaine stunt. Except this isn't like a magic trick or an illusion, this is all very real. They are treating the Epstein files like some kind of joke. This is one of the most infamous child sex traffickers in American history, and they are treating it as if it's not serious. Pfft. What? And now they're just not going to ever address that this happened. They're just going to ignore it. That's craziness. Now, like I said at the beginning, I didn't expect the Epstein files to be released today because it's been very clear that that's just not coming. And I think we're at the point where even if they do ever release the Epstein files, there is no faith left, no trust that they won't be tampered with. Like, heavily redacted. They did release some things yesterday, but it was all old information. It wasn't anything new. There was like a couple of like tiny new tidbits, but not really. And at the end of the day, like I said, there's going to be so little trust that this hasn't been heavily fucking flubered with. Made that word up, but it sounds like it could apply. Like, it's a Schmeckeldorfing, it feels like, where the information, it might not even be accurate anymore. Because this has been such an absolute clown show. You can't even trust it. I also just don't even think it's ever going to be released. Period. Like, this has been something that they just keep teasing over and over again, like Beyond Good and Evil 2, and it just, nothing ever comes. It all just fizzles out. And then everyone just forgets about it in like 2 days' time. And I'm so tired of that. They had said the information would be released yesterday, and it was going to be huge. Like, they hyped the shit out of it. This is going to be the Super Bowl of Jeffrey Epstein files. We finally have the whole kit and caboodle. This is everything, and there's going to be repercussions. People are going to be thrown in jail. People are going to be arrested. Well, that didn't happen yesterday, so they said it's going to be today. It'll be February 28th at 8 a.m. sharp. It's just the fucking pesky FBI director did a little, shady business over here, and, well, we're getting our handle on it, but it's coming 8 a.m. February 28th. Well, still not here. I didn't expect it to actually be released today, but, much like a growth spurt in my 30s, it would have been a nice surprise to finally have them actually release these things. And I feel like in a week, it won't be here. A month, it still won't be released. And eventually people will just forget that it was ever even mentioned, or they might make like an offhanded comment about it like, oh no, we released those. What are you talking about? We stayed true to what we said. We released it. And it's just the information that's already been known for fucking years, with like nothing new added to it. Not what was promised, not what they said was actually coming, with all the arrests, all the jail time, and all these new names and all this new information about these evil fucking people that participated in this child sex trafficking. That has still not been released, and there's still not been consequences. So, when is that ever going to be released? Is it ever? And if it's not, why do you keep pretending that it is? It doesn't make any fucking sense. And it's infuriating. It just feels like all of it is just not being treated seriously at all. The fucking judiciary just making an actual joke out of it, just mocking the Epstein files, really just taking the whole thing of child sex trafficking and boiling it down to a fucking rickroll. That is beyond deplorable. And then just saying like, oh, the files are coming. Nah, they didn't. So what? Like, it's just, there are legitimately, like, nothing is taken seriously anymore by anybody or anything, it feels. I fucking hate it. It's got me spitting. I am covering these monitors in saliva. I am just flabbergasted. I feel like I'm in rock bottom right now, like with the amount of spit that I'm doing here. But I can't help it. It is unbelievable. Let's just set aside this instance of the House Judiciary rickroll. Why in tarnation on God's green earth would you want your House Judiciary to be cringe meme lord Reddit tier losers making rickrolls in the year 2025 of our Lord on anything, let alone something as serious as the Epstein files? How is that not embarrassing? How is that not shameful? I'll stop yapping and ranting about it, but it is just mind-boggling that they can do that and then nothing happens. They just get to pretend it never happened. They just don't even have the wherewithal to even mention it again or try and explain what led them to thinking that was a good idea, or explaining why the Epstein files that they've promised are still not being released. It's so fucking dumb. It's really about it. See ya. Another Boeing whistleblower has died. What a weird coincidence that is, right? 2 Boeing whistleblowers dying under mysterious circumstances back to back in a matter of only 2 months? Man, that's peculiar, isn't it? Must just be really bad RNG. No reason to investigate that any further, I'm sure. So for those that don't know, being a Boeing whistleblower is more detrimental to your health than smoking cigarettes. At least the cigarettes kill you slowly over a period of years, whereas being a Boeing whistleblower kills you almost immediately. Like, skydiving without a parachute is safer for you than blowing the whistle on Boeing and all of their shadiness. So, a month ago, there was a Boeing whistleblower named John Barnett who was found dead with apparent self-inflicted gunshot wounds, the timing of which was really interesting considering he was at the tail end of an extremely important lawsuit that he was engaged in with Boeing. And according to everyone that knew him, he was extremely excited to be done with that lawsuit, and in fact, shortly before he was found dead, he'd actually told people that if he does turn up dead, just know he didn't do it to himself. Probably circumstantial evidence, that probably doesn't mean anything. Just don't think too hard and accept the shit that they feed you with the official story that he just decided while sitting in his truck to blow his goddamn brains out. That makes a lot of sense here. I stand by my assessment that John Barnett was assassinated by Boeing. I don't believe it's Boeing themselves, but I believe it's a couple high-ranking members within Boeing that are taking matters into their own hands and doing these things. It's the only explanation that makes any level of sense to this. So I made a whole video breaking down the evidence in the John Barnett case, as well as an entire Red Thread episode dedicated to uncovering all of the shadiness and corruption within Boeing. That company is fucked. Jackson, Windigoon, and myself went through the entire history of Boeing, and they are so corrupt it would make Umbrella Corporation blush at how evil Boeing is. It is shocking. So I really do think that these two whistleblowers were the victims of some kind of assassination. So let's talk about the most recent whistleblower. His name is Joshua Dean. I learned about it last night while playing Crab Souls, and well, it's not the real name of the game. The name of the game is Another Crab's Treasure, and it's a banger. But while playing this game, chat told me that another Boeing whistleblower had just turned up dead, and I thought they were memeing. And it turns out they weren't. They were actually telling the truth. Oh. Do you see the second Boeing whistleblower got murked? No shot the other whistleblower is dead. No shot. It's real? No. No, I don't believe that. Hold on, I'm looking that shit up right now. No! What? What? It's just in plain sight. Yeah, whistleblower Josh Dean of Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems has died. What? Another Boeing whistleblower is dead. 6 hours ago, yeah. Joshua Dean, a former quality auditor at Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems and one of the first whistleblowers to allege Spirit leadership had ignored manufacturing defects on the 737 MAX, died Tuesday morning after a struggle with a sudden fast-spreading infection. Oh, that's interesting. This time it wasn't bullet to the head? They're getting creative with their assassinations. That's crazy. This is the most dangerous thing you can be as a Boeing whistleblower. That's more dangerous than being like a fucking volcano lava taste tester. This shit, it's just in plain sight. His entire family stated he was healthy until after he blew the whistle. He lived a very healthy lifestyle and the illness was sudden and unexpected. Yeah, he contracted that stick it to the monneosis from Boeing. Joshua Dean was a quality auditor at Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems and was among the first whistleblowers to accuse Spirit leadership of ignoring defects on the 737 MAX, and he died shortly after contracting influenza B, MRSA, and then developing pneumonia. Now, for those that are unaware, Boeing has a history of just ignoring safety precautions and just hiding things. So in the previous case with John Barnett, we actually learned quite a few alarming things, such as there were times where scrap metal was used for Boeing planes in order to meet deadlines. They'd also keep things off the books as much as possible. They even used Dawn dish soap as a lubricant for the aircraft door seals at one point. Then they also used hotel key cards and wet cheesecloths to perform maintenance. Just an absolute smorgasbord of malpractice, at least in my perspective here. Of course, I'm not an aircraft specialist, but using Dawn dish soap and hotel key cards, that doesn't really seem like textbook protocol there. That sounds like something you'd read on WikiHow for a DIY aircraft maintenance at your own home for like an RC aircraft, not a fucking Boeing. So these gentlemen came forward to try and alert the public about what Boeing's been doing, or rather not doing, that they should be, and they've both paid the ultimate price for it. In my eyes, they're heroes for the work they've tried to do here. So being a Boeing whistleblower is basically like just taking a cyanide capsule at this point, it seems. It's just more of a matter of when, not if, you turn up dead, I suppose. Let's go deeper into the case of Joshua Dean here, because this one seems so blatant. His mother and stepfather described him as a health nut who rarely drank and attended church regularly. He started feeling sick around 2 weeks ago. He stayed home from work for a couple days, but things got worse. Sunday, April 21st, is when his mother got a call from him that he was really sick, having trouble breathing, and he went to immediate care, and they told him he had strep throat. She went to check on her son and telling him to call her if he felt worse, and he did call her a couple hours later and said that he was going to the emergency room and that he was scared because they found something in his lungs. He tested positive for influenza B, he tested positive for MRSA, he had pneumonia, his lungs were completely filled up, and from there he just went downhill. This was a stunning turn of events for Dean and his family because he was described as someone who was very healthy. He went to the gym, ran nearly every day, and was very careful about his diet. Quote, "This was his first time ever in a hospital. He didn't even have a doctor because he was never sick. But within days, his kidneys gave out and he was relying on an ECMO life support machine to do the work of his heart and lungs." The night before Dean died, Green said medical staff in Oklahoma did a bronchoscopy on his lungs. The doctor said he'd never seen anything like it before in his life. His lungs were just totally gummed up and like a mesh over them. Unfortunately, it sounds like Dean came down with a severe case of Boeing whistleblower lung, which is a serious medical condition that only affects Boeing whistleblowers in particular. It makes coal miners' lungs look clean in comparison. So I'm not surprised that this was the doctor's first time seeing anything like this, because typically a Boeing whistleblower doesn't even survive long enough to make it to the hospital in one piece. This fucking company is rotten to the core. Green says she asked for an autopsy to determine exactly what killed her son, and results will likely take months. "We're not sure what he died of," she said. "We know that he had a bunch of viruses, but we don't know if someone did something to him or did he just get real sick." In my unprofessional opinion, I think someone did something to him. I think the infection he contracted was Boeing hitman disease. I think he was poisoned. This is someone that took their health extremely seriously, and only a short period of time after coming forward with information about Boeing's negligent practices does he get extremely sick and then die, all in a short span of time, with something that doctors had never even seen happen before. That's a little suspicious. And this is the second whistleblower that has died under mysterious circumstances in 2 months? Wow, what a crazy coincidence. To me, this feels like someone or a group of people within Boeing is taking matters into their own hands and making an example out of these whistleblowers, because Boeing is a massive company with so many people in it. And thus, there's a lot of people that are privy to all of the shady shit that they've been doing over the past couple of decades. So, by sending this message, not so subtly, that whistleblowers don't have a long life expectancy, it makes people afraid to come forward with their own accounts. It makes more whistleblowers afraid to come forward. And I think that's the goal with all of it. That, at least in my opinion. Like I said, we did a full dive on Boeing for that Red Thread episode, and this company has been corrupt for a long time. I would not put it past them to do something like this. Maybe not the company as a whole, but at least a couple of bad actors within the company, at the very least. Now let's get into some of the things that Dean was alleging. So he had a degree in engineering, and he took his first job at Spirit in 2019, but was let go amid the layoffs during the pandemic. He then returned to work for the company as a quality auditor. He took the job very seriously and grew increasingly frustrated with what he described as a culture of not counting defects correctly, which is very commonplace when it comes to this. During 2 interviews in January, Dean said that Spirit pressured employees not to report defects in order to get planes out of the factory faster. This is something that John Barnett also said. Now, I'm not saying they don't want you to go out there and inspect a job. You know they do. But if you make too much trouble, you will get the Josh treatment. You will get what happened to me. That's what Dean told NPR. Dean was fired in April of last year in retaliation, he said, for flagging improperly drilled holes in fuselages. "I think they were sending out a message to anybody else," Dean said. "If you are too loud, we will silence you." Dean described what he saw while working for Spirit in a deposition for a lawsuit filed by the company's shareholders, who accused the company of misleading investors by attempting to conceal excessive numbers of defects at the Kansas factory. He was not a plaintiff in the case. In the shareholder lawsuit, Dean said he flagged a significant defect, misdrilled holes in the AFT pressure bulkhead of the 737 MAX fuselages, months before he was fired. His deposition lays out a series of pivotal dates. October 2022. In his auditor role, Dean realizes Spirit workers misdrilled holes on the 737 MAX AFT pressure bulkhead, representing a potential threat to maintaining cabin pressure during flight. The lawsuit accuses the company of concealing the problem. April 13, 2023. Boeing publicly reveals learning of a separate defect related to the tail fin fittings on the certain 737 MAX aircraft. Spirit then confirms that defect. April 26, 2023. Spirit fires Dean, saying he failed to flag the tail fin issue. In his testimony, Dean said he told the company officials that he might have missed the tail fin defect because he had just discovered the problem with the bulkheads he inspected and was focused on that. August 23, 2023. Boeing announces it has found fastener holes in the AFT pressure bulkhead on certain 737 MAX airplanes that don't match its specifications, resulting in snowmen due to the multiple holes' elongated shape. It's the problem Dean flagged 10 months earlier. On the same day, Spirit releases a statement acknowledging the issue. The shareholder lawsuit accuses Spirit of concealing the bulkhead defect not only from investors, but also apparently from Boeing. It's important to note that Boeing is currently in talks to acquire Spirit altogether, and in the interview with NPR, Joshua Dean predicted it would be difficult to replace the experienced workforce that Spirit lost during the pandemic. The mechanics aren't as experienced, neither are the inspectors. We've just lost that. He then showed a little bit of optimism for the new CEO who was taking over, saying that he has the chance to be the new sheriff in town, and he closes by saying, "We need to make sure that there is no retaliation or intimidation. This culture of, you're too loud, you'll be moved or silenced, that's got to go." Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that culture went anywhere. In fact, they are silencing people in the biggest possible way, by making it so they can never speak again because they're dead. That is what it seems like to me. This is a problem that runs so deep with Boeing. It's in Spirit, their supplier, and Boeing itself. This is unacceptable. Like, the planes are in terrible condition. There is problems almost every single day with Boeing flights malfunctioning and having all kinds, like oodles and oodles of issues. It really feels like it's only a matter of time before a fatal incident occurs with one of Boeing's aircrafts that would have been entirely preventable if they actually just followed their own safety protocol and actually listened to the quality auditors and the people that are actually supposed to be performing maintenance on these things. It's so baffling to me that we've reached this point where they're so focused on just pumping shit out to meet deadlines that they don't really care if it's put together well. These are things that hold thousands of people's lives daily, and they're just shipping it out as cheaply and as fastly as possible while hiding as many of the defects as they can for as long as they can. That is frightening. Fucking frightening. And the people that are speaking out about it seem to be in an extraordinary amount of danger for some reason. Super weird how two whistleblowers just turn up dead under really interesting circumstances so close together. It just, the whole thing reeks of corruption. My heart breaks for the family and friends of John Barnett and Joshua Dean. Like I said, I really do view them as heroes. Whistleblowers are extremely important. To hold these companies accountable and to try and do the right thing is not easy. As that headline said, it takes tremendous courage. You take a huge risk. And unfortunately for these two, it seems like that risk cost them everything. It's super sad. And I really think that it's just right there in plain sight that Boeing has some kind of hand in it. It's fucking sickening. I think Boeing is an evil company. I think Spirit is an evil company. Like, this is just, it's craziness. It's fucking horrifying. So I want to talk about this a little bit. That's it. So yeah. I've used Uber and Lyft hundreds of times each, Uber more than Lyft, and I've never had a notably awful experience before. I've never gotten into a car and felt unsafe. I look at my driver and he's wearing like a trench coat and sharpening a hacksaw and then winks at me. I've never had like a really bad time with ride sharing. The only time it got wacky and weird was one time I took an Uber leaving the bar, and on the way home, I was convinced I was in the car with a prophet, like an angel. We were driving on the interstate, just two boys being dudes, and out of nowhere, the Uber driver pulls a prophecy out of his asshole. He said, "This guy's about to hit the median." And at first, I didn't know what he was talking about. I thought it was like a riddle that I had to solve or something to get money off of the Uber rides. I was like, oh, the answer is at time, But then I realized he was talking about the car in front of us, obviously. And it felt really weird to me because the car wasn't doing anything weird. We were behind them for a little while, like maybe a mile or two, and they weren't driving erratically or recklessly. They didn't look like a drunk driver or anything. And then out of nowhere, a couple of seconds after he said that, he like willed it into existence. The car swerved and scraped against the median and then tried to get back into the lane. Out of fucking nowhere. I was like, oh my god, we are living in a simulation. But yeah, that was my weirdest experience with Uber and ride sharing in general. But of course I've seen the horror stories, like the absolutely awful ones, and this is one of those. This is a pretty special one.
I'm just trying to ask him to go to speed limit is all.
I'm saying I'm gonna go.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Don't really know what's going on in her car here. She's created a little crime scene there. Like, stepping into this vehicle looks like you'd be stepping into your neighbor's shitty haunted house on Halloween. It's just really goofy looking. I don't get it. I guess it's supposed to be early Halloween decorations. She's got like a blow-up sex doll in the passenger seat. Or maybe it's there to like prevent her passengers from getting up front. Like, hey, you can't sit there. Clearly, this inflatable Mr. Krabs doll's taking that seat. So just get in the back, all right? You know, I don't even know what the fuck it is. I mean, maybe it's an inflatable clown or something. I couldn't tell you, but it's pretty weird stuff. Now, what happened is the passenger asked if they could roll down the window and drive the speed limit, which I think is a pretty reasonable request because this lady's out here driving like it's Grand Theft Auto 5. I was half expecting her to try and ramp this vehicle off of a parked tow truck. She's treating it like it's Fast and Furious universe and she's trying to catch Dominic Toretto. So it's not like the passenger's being an asshole or anything, just asking, hey, can you drive the speed limit so you don't kill both of us here? And that just sets her off. She loses her goddamn mind there. Slow down! Fucking yanks on the e-brake and does a 360. Suck on this, pussy fart! You can hear, like, this tire start screeching. She completely takes her eyes off the road, turns around and starts swiping at the camera like she's a kaiju, like Godzilla trying to knock over a building. And meanwhile, the passenger's laughing the entire time. The absolute fucking dick on this man, the fucking balls of pure adamantium to laugh through an experience like this is inspiring. They could have very easily died here. The driver went feral and totally forgot they were operating a vehicle. This could have ended up like the Billy Madison scene where O'Doyle Rules just fucking shoots their car off a cliff like a missile. And meanwhile, the whole time, the guy's just giggling about it.
All right.
The car now.
Well, you got to. Hey, you're gonna have to open that trunk. I'm not going anywhere until you open that trunk.
Unironically, she starts squealing. Literally squealing. This is what a small dog sounds like when it's trying to intimidate a larger dog, but it's also very afraid as well. It actually sounds like somebody stepped on a toad. It is shocking that a human being can make this noise with their vocal cords. This is what it sounds like to smoke 15 packs a day.
All right.
The car now.
Well, you got to. Hey, you're gonna have to open that trunk.
Sorry to hit you with the surprise instant replay on the Jumbotron. It's just I'm so impressed with her ability to hit this screeching note. This is the brown note. Like, hearing that makes a human being involuntarily shit themselves. This is such an abhorrent sound. It's like someone's recorder broke, but they still desperately tried to play hot cross buns on it.
Get out. Get out. Get out.
Nope. You're gonna have to get my bag out of your car. I just want my bag, man. That's all I want was my bag. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm no Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, but I'm pretty sure this is a highly illegal act here. You can't just pull over on a busy interstate and kick out the passenger, because they could easily just get hit by a car and die, and you're fully responsible for it. What a remarkably reckless decision from this asshole here. But credit where credit is due, she did slam him with a real humdinger, saying, fuck you and fuck your mom too. So she tossed in a your mom there, so she really got him. I was really hoping she'd double down and go for a D's nuts as well. Just be like, hey, yeah, you can you get off at the D's exit and find another lift. D's nutties. Then she fucking peels out, drifts in there. But she handled herself like a professional, only sticking with a your mother statement as she launched his suitcase across the road.
Me too.
So she's running around barefoot like a hobbit, threatening an Uno reverse card, saying, well, I'm also filming everything, so that way we have two angles of how stupid I am and how reckless of a driver I am. I don't think there's any world or any multiverse out there where there's a single reality where what she was doing was justifiable. She was driving extremely fast and reckless. She turned around to swipe at the guy's phone while driving extremely fast, tires screeching, and then pulling off to the side of the road to kick him out. Pretty hard to defend stuff, I'd say. As she blasts off back onto the road, she nearly clipped the van that was next to her because she tried to get back too early, and that would have been an absolute catastrophe. Her road rage almost got even more people hurt. Then she left this guy stranded. I'm assuming he was able to find his way back to civilization after being dropped off in the middle of fucking nowhere on the interstate. And yeah, I don't really think This is the best Lyft experience. I would imagine this is at the absolute least 2 stars, I would say. It has to be. Because this was not great. This was not, you know, spectacular service, I would argue. But at least he survived the trip. I was getting worried when she was driving the car and slamming backwards, screeching tires and shit. I thought that was just going to be the end of him. I thought we were looking at like some Blair Witch Project found footage kind of shit, but luckily everyone was okay. That's about it. See ya.